Beautiful. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is Fleeting Moments Inscribed and Emblazoned reading. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes to basically introduce the event, and then I'll hand it over to our contributors so you can hear the work that you're very excited to hear. As you just heard, this meeting is being recorded. So if you feel uncomfortable with being recorded, feel free to turn your camera off and keep it off throughout the entire event. We'd also like to remind you to mute your microphones throughout so that the authors can really shine and you can hear them. My name is Leticia Pribi Rocha. I am a poet, and I joined the Yellow Arrow family when one of my poems, Lost In, was selected for publication in the Peregrine issue last year. For those of you who are not familiar with Yellow Arrow Publishing, it is a publishing company based in Baltimore that supports and inspires women writers through publication and access to the literary arts. As we know, women's voices have been historically underrepresented, and so we aim to really elevate those voices and stories through our programs and our publications. I am here today because I served as guest editor for the Emblazon issue, which has been such an incredible experience. And it's what we're celebrating here in this reading. And I imagine if you are here, you have seen Emblazon in some capacity, but here is I have the stupid blur on, so you can't fully see it, but here is the cover for Emblazon that was designed by Elizabeth Jimenez Montelongo, who is an incredible artist, and you should absolutely check out her other work. Emblazon is really all about the fleeting moments that make us who we are, that are inscribed into our being and that make up a life. I really see it as a tribute to life itself, and I'm really thrilled to share with everybody. We have our authors here today who are going to be reading their pieces in the order that they appear in Emblazon, and the authors are going to introduce themselves and their pieces, and then kind of jump into performing. And if any author is here, I don't think so, who didn't RSVP but wants to read, they can just send me a private message and we'll add you in if we have time. And then I will add, as a poet myself, I've done Zoom readings before. It can be a little bit unnerving because you can't read the energy of a Zoom room as much as you can read the energy of a room in person. You can't hear the thoughtful mms or the snaps and that kind of thing that you hear in an audience. So I really encourage the audience to use the chat feature. Comment lines that you enjoyed, send nice compliments. Let's hype up our authors, get people excited. And authors, I really encourage you to share your social media handles or anything like that in the chat once you are done reading so that your new fans can kind of stay in touch. I will shamelessly put my social media handles in the chat as well. And so I think that is all of the things. And I will actually hand it over to our very first reader, Alli Tervo.
Hi, thank you so much. That was beautiful. It's really special and amazing to be here, even virtually. This is actually, I'll call it my first publication. I've had little things out and about in the world before, but this to me feels the most
real. That sounds okay.
Yeah. But it's like the thought of even opening this object to find my writing inside is super surreal, and such a tremendous honor. So thank you, everyone. I also am gonna put some of my socials in the chat after I read. Starting a new creative initiative, and I'd love to have y'all follow along. So this poem is called The Fields. I also have some of it's blurry. I have some of the lavender I picked from the day that I wrote it. But yeah, thank you. The Fields. I think I saw us all in the lavender field today. Our hearts purpled and budded, our minds oriented sunward. And it convinced me of some order, that we're stitched at the root of one another. The usual rhythm of fear in my chest hushed. The wind took over, metronomed my lungs. The grass swept up like the hair on my neck, and the once tangled universe felt wild and familiar. It and I were close there, friends and touching, settling down on the quiet like hummingbirds. My eyes were radical messengers. I saw people in the flowers, necks cutting through the same wind, backs slicked by the same rain. And I breathed for the first time I could remember. Beautiful us, filling the air. How did we ever lose each other? How can we find ourselves again? Love is to stand in the sun where the risk is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alli. I will share that when I read that last line, I was floored. I was like, this, it's everything that I envisioned Emblazon would be. So I was just very excited. Thank you for your work. Next up is Elizabeth Birch.
Thank you, Letitia, and thank you, Yellow Arrow, for publishing. This is also my first publication since I was a kid, so I'm very excited and appreciate it. I'm Elizabeth Birch. I live in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and the poem I'm reading today is called Bloom. Tiny ceramic pots held cacti and succulents in my closet as a kid. A collection I could call my own, each as prickly as I felt and as unique as my mom told me to be proud. I can still feel their thorns on the soft pads of my fingers. What do you have hidden? I wanted to house all the strange creatures. The alien plants that stretched goo-filled tentacles into the yard, returning every year as weeds that my mom only tolerated for how much I loved them. The spiders I caught in empty jelly jars and compared with the drawings of each species average in bug books. The lizard from the pet store whose scales, claws, and cool belly imprinted calm in the palm of my hand. When I started wearing girls' clothes, I felt my prickles and scales fall away, like a snake shedding its skin, like a succulent, stretching across the earth, vulnerable to gardeners less sympathetic to their tomboy daughters, like a squished, strange creature, oozing from my eyes and ears, waiting for something larger to lick up the mess. I traveled to Arizona and saw the grown-up version of my secret friends. Monstrous cacti radiating confidence from the red desert dirt. I imagined slicing the saguaro open with a sword to see its clear green goo spill from its smooth succulent shell and in between its thorns. It makes me want to cry. But at the base, the cactus skin is hard and brown like bark of an ordinary tree. Corking, natural, intentional. The cactus turns to wood for stability, sacrificing a bit of its strangeness to survive. Mr. Cactus, do you sometimes feel like your insides are oozing outside of you? He gains more strength to grow, arms budding out, spreading up, inch by decade. It may take him 40 years to bloom a flower. I'm in my mid-30s now. The New England sky is gray, but I'm pointed toward the sun, waiting. Thank you.
Oh, such a beautiful last line. It just echoes with you. Okay, next up we have Robin Dellabough.
You'd think I'd learn how to unmute more quickly after all these years on Zoom. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Yellow Arrow. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the inspiration for this particular poem. I drive on a highway from New York City back up to my house pretty regularly, and I noticed that every single time I had the same memory, even though I've driven on that highway a million times. So I started wondering why that was, and if and realizing that there were other moments or people or objects that also elicited the very same specific memories. And I wanted to explore that to see if there was any common denominator, but also just to see where that exploration or remembering would lead me, which it turned out was the last line of the poem, a great loss. And then emblazon, this issue's theme, can mean to mark or adorn something, but also to celebrate or extol something. And I really felt that this poem was a way to mark moments in a timeline while celebrating how such moments string together into a whole life, and especially the people who populate that life, my life. So the poem is called "My Head is Full of Random Memories, but I Can't Remember Who I've Slept With." On a certain stretch of Henry Hudson Parkway, I think of the night we were driving home with P, who once massaged Nelson Mandela at a Rockefeller estate. And as P sped over potholes, his wife scolded him to slow down, for God's sake. Later, she found out he'd slept with all her friends, so she left him and P joined a sex cult. Or whenever it rains, I'm in that ramshackle house in the Oregon woods where C and I ate magic mushrooms my sister gave us, and it turned very dark until soothing rain came. Or whenever I pull out the big yellow platter to make artichoke cheese puff, I think of visiting S in Paris, where we ate an entire loaf of poêlon bread with her married Iranian lover before she had a baby and returned to teach biology in Cambridge. Or how hearing house music, no matter where, produces Jay's black hooded descent, whereas Talking Heads is the whole family dancing while clearing the table after a visit to MoMA, where the kids couldn't understand why the framed toothpaste was art. Or every Halloween, remembering M's private yoga class. My friend B's ex was there, but he didn't know that M, whose wife had died the summer before, was already seeing B, except I knew, which made it hard to focus on Warrior 3. Or seeing the implacable Palisades, only to realize my parents, who got stuck in a blizzard on 9W and had to stay at a convent on the way home from buying my 16th birthday gift, a Tiffany watch, don't exist now beyond those cliffs. Thank you. I do have a book out that I'm going to put the link to in the chat if anyone's curious about other work of mine. Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Oh, such vivid images, and then that ending, chills. All right, next up we have Samantha Chagollan.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a creative nonfiction writer from Southern California. I'm currently working on the first draft of my memoir called Homesick. And this piece, End Credits, is about my beloved father who passed away in 2020 of COVID-19. End Credits. What did you see when you took your final breath and your eyes rolled up to the sky and you left the room and this world? Was there a light speed sizzle reel of all the treasured memories you like to revisit, plus some surprises you'd forgotten about? Where did the movie begin? Dressing up in the miniature men's suits your mother sewed for you on her singer in the kitchen, posing for the camera in between your brothers, a sly smile on your lips. Chasing your dog Tiny through the rows of lemon trees on the ranch, eating handfuls of warm peaches in the dirt, the sun blazing above. Riding your bike to see the Dodgers play at the Coliseum, the buttery crust of your dad's lemon meringue pie, laughing in delight as he walked on his hands in the hot sand at Shell Beach. Basic training in your Air Force uniform, Saturdays off base at the Russian River, drinking beers straight out of the water so cold they hurt your teeth. Stumbling through Japan with June, playing your jazz records for her, sitting on the rocky beach staring out at the horizon, falling in love for the first time in the midst of a war. Desert wind in your hair, windows down, driving straight from Los Angeles to Vegas to sit in the front row and see your favorites play. The martinis, the cigarettes, the parties, the many, many, many dance floors you spun and wheeled the girls around on. Your wedding day in the doctor's backyard, my mother's fair skin almost the same pale shade as her Jackie Onassis-inspired bridal gown, her blue eyes sparkling when you finally said, I do. Your first Silver Lake apartment, Griffith Park at sunset, Jerry Mulligan at the Hague, Louis Prima and Keely Smith, Cal Jader, Twilight at the Hollywood Bowl, late night steak medium rare at the Pacific Dining Club near Union Station. The day I was born, cradling me in your arms for the first time, suddenly realizing life could impossibly change forever in a new heartbeat. Daddy-daughter square dances and tea parties, commuting on the jam-packed 405 every day, dinners at Denny's, laughing and arguing with your wife, Christmas Eves with the cousins, tending the roses in the front yard on repeat, over and over again. Cheering from the bleachers as I crossed the stage to receive my college diploma, trips to Mazatlan and the Redwoods and my wedding day, you and your white guayabera clutching my hand in the crook of your arm, guiding me barefoot down the sandy aisle to my future. Your new friends at the memory care facility, wearing your gold plastic Valentine's Day king crown, whispering to your wife in her nursing home bed, video visits during a global pandemic, the familiar sound of my voice at your bedside, the feel of my gloved hand stroking yours. Did it go by this fast? Did it seem like you were reliving each moment as it passed? Did you feel proud and satisfied at the end? Sorry. I was standing at your bedside when you left this world, holding your hand, so I didn't get to watch the show. But I see it now, each and every frame of your legacy, emblazoned onto my memory as if I lived it too. Thank you. I'll put some contact information in the chat. I haven't read it out loud before, so thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Samantha. I cried like a baby when I read this first, and hearing you, I'm tearing up right now. Thank you. Our next author is actually going to share through a video because they can't be here today. So bear with me as I share my screen. We're gonna hope that it works really well, I believe. Okay. Alrighty, so we have Laura Rockhold, who will be sharing her work. And oh boy. Give me 1 second. We're almost there. Before this, I went in and I opened each video and I was like, okay, perfect. It's loading, it's working, everything's happening, and here we are. Okay, I'm actually going to, I have the videos downloaded, so give me 1 second. I will reshare my screen. Oh no, okay, it's working. Right here. Okay, Laura Rockhold.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Rockhold. I'm a poet and visual artist living in Minnesota, the traditional homeland of the Dakota people. Thank you to Letitia and Yellow Arrow Journal for including my work in these beautiful pages. It is an honor to be a part of the EMBLAZON issue. I would not be who I am today without my daughter. This poem was written to and for her. Letter to my daughter. Dear daughter, with strawberry kisses and sun-scented hair, the sun was too low today, too bright. I couldn't see through the trees. Even the clouds were moody, brackish over saline land. I keep looking for restoration in the open spaces. What I mean is, looking closely is a way of loving. I am sorry for the times I have not seen you clearly, mistaken your fear for my own, when I have not been able to transcend ancient wounds. Dear daughter, picking dandelion greens and mulberries for our table, please know I am trying to be a vessel for you to pour into, to be the pressed leaf, to be a tree full of wind chimes when you need a song. Tender butterfly, firefly, bumblebee, little flower within a flower who brings me back to myself. You are just beginning to open, pink and green with white fringe tips, believing everything a miracle, and let it be so. Let sun petal your skies in tangerine frosting. Let us stay in the willow's golden wonder and shade. Dear daughter, running with a stick, may you always have milkweed plumes and cattail fluff and one more poke of snow. Thank you.
So beautiful. There's just so much love in Emblazon, and it just makes me happy. All right. Next up, we have Susan Ayres.
Hi, everyone. It's really an honor to be included in this powerful issue. I live in Fort Worth, and I'm a poet, a lawyer, and also a literary translator. My chapbook of poetry, Walk Like the Bird Flies, is going to be published by Finishing Line Press any day now, maybe in 2 weeks, but it's very exciting. So tonight I'm going to read a poem in memory of my mother, Dolores Ann Edwards Ayres, who lived from 1937 to 2016. It's called Pimento Cheese. My mother thought you should always have pimentos in the pantry. She bought squat glass jars with yellow lids. Along with pimentos, she folded long green chilies into grated sharp cheddar, bound with mayonnaise and softened cream cheese. She believed in reincarnation, and that your purse should always match your shoes. She changed her bra every day, and her only makeup was beige foundation. She hid chocolates in her nightstand and left new outfits in her car trunk for days so she could tell my father, "No, these aren't new dresses." Even after lung cancer, she stashed cigarettes in coat pockets. And though she grew up Baptist, she wanted Ave Maria sung at her funeral. In the weeks before, she'd lost her voice. She told me about the soldier who proposed marriage. "Too young," she said softly. "I was 15. We combed through boxes of unmarked photos, waiting for radiation. I need more time to tell you my stories," she whispered. I handed her photo after photo, young men like the soldier, distant cousins, and on the back of each, I scribbled her susurrated stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Such a full picture of a person. So beautiful. Next up, we have Bethany Jarmul.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bethany. I live in around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a writer, a poet, an editor.
And I'm just really honored to be here tonight. I want to say thank you to Yellow Arrow and the whole team for putting this on and for including my work. It's such an honor to be here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the poem before I read it. As a writer, as a poet, I have certain themes that I return to often that just come up again and again in my work, and I'm sure many writers on this call can relate to that. And one of those themes for me is wrestling with home, and what does it mean to call a place home? And for me, I grew up in the hills of West Virginia, in the heart of Appalachia, and really wanted to leave home from a young age. And then having left home, found a nostalgia for home. And so this poem is one of many pieces that I've written kind of wrestling with that idea of where we come from and what is it that is our home. So this poem is called Belonging. I'll paint a portrait of home, where I was born and raised, capture it in vivid, swirling acrylic. Fill the canvas with the deep pigments of an Appalachian dusk, salmon, rosé, and amber. I'll build the shadowy mountains and hills with flowing strokes underneath the sky. Pencil in the red brick house on the dead-end street, meeting a forest of oaks and maples dappled with burning colors. I'll hang the home where I was born on the walls of the house we've chosen for ourselves and our children. My painting, should it have been this? A yellow ranch-style house nestled in our suburban neighborhood where we sleep and make love, where we read to our children, where we learn the meaning of love all over again. Thank you. I do have a chapbook out currently, and this poem is actually going to be a part of my full-length collection entitled Lightning is the Mother, that is forthcoming in 2025 with ELJ editions. So I will share my current chapbook and also how to connect with me on social media. So thank you, guys.
Amazing. Thank you, Bethany. Such vivid imagery. Oh. All right. Next, we have Dani Sacchi.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here today. My name is Dani. I will be reading my nonfiction piece titled Both And. And to shorten it, I'll just go ahead and recap the beginning and then pick up reading in the middle. The start of my essay details the complexities of having two ethnicities or being from two different cultures, Puerto Rican and Italian. And my connection to both cultures began with food, but over time I found that it really didn't make up for not knowing the language, specifically Spanish. And I wanted my mom to teach me, but in the end, she never did speak to me in her language or teach it to me. My mother's body housed the world's best kept secret, a code I had yet to crack. A fractured language inherited from her ancestors, colonized and stripped down until it became her own. As I grew up, I began to loathe Spanish, and my aversion to it grew more intense with each family visit when I forcibly dissociated, becoming a ghost so everyone's sentences could float through and around me. I remained separate from my mother, our interactions limited because English didn't suffice for everything that needed to be said. In some ways, I think the physical abuse was her way of speaking to me, every hit telling me what she didn't know how to articulate. I did not know her language. I did not have my mother as I needed her to be, but I had her stories. She passionately spoke the language of gossip, the death of so-and-so's child, a drunk neighbor, abuela's inappropriate behavior caused by dementia, a retelling of a story told 100 times with each ending a little differently. She unknowingly passed down a mosaic of her fragmented self, each piece carrying an expectation for me to know what to make of myself in this life without being taught. In anger, I used to bury these changing stories, her language in tow, and topped off the dirt with a tombstone, so I never had to be like her. But without them, her existence vanishes forever, and so does her pain, her trail of perfume in the house after she leaves for work, her wispy hand gestures at the climax of her story. I dig them back up now, hide them where no one can see, and use them in my own way. Stretch them out over the span of my entire life, fingernails clacking on my keyboard so that she could see what I've become. All from the ragged dug-up sentences of shifting storylines, excavating truth from confusion. I learned to be water smoothing out rocks, differentiating what was real and made up, just so I could create my own something to fall back on and touch, to speak to in my own language, the way I couldn't do with her. I may not know Spanish the way she does. I don't know as many words and can't speak as fast as she can. I don't stay up past midnight sharing my secret language with everyone I can think of calling. But I know what it's like to stare at my FAFSA application, not knowing how or what or where to begin, but figuring it out by myself. I know what it's like to keep my hair natural with frizzy pelitos and curls down my neck. I know what it's like to graduate college against all odds and the spoken expectation that I would just end up getting pregnant before 18 years old. I cook arroz con gandules to the best of my ability and find comfort in the smell of sofrito lingering in my home all day when I make it. I push past mountains of insecurity to speak one line in Spanish, hoping no one will criticize me for it sounding too white. I do what I can with what I was given. I don't speak the Spanish language perfectly, fluently. I speak the language of she was not, so I have to be. Survival tongue. The language of unapologetically being both and. Thank you.
Thank you, Dani. That was so gorgeous, vivid. So many lines, like will stay with me for a very long time. Our next two contributors are shared through video, so hopefully this goes more smoothly than the first one. I will share my screen. We have Emma Gawlinski coming up next. All right.
Hi, I'm Emma Gawlinski. I'm from England originally, but I live now in Barcelona, which is why I can't be with you tonight because I'm asleep, but I'll be thinking of you in my dreams. I'm going to read you my poem, My Radiation Oncologist's Fabulous Boots, which was in the journal. And this is a poem that I wrote that was inspired by the various people who helped me through a difficult time when I was going through treatment for breast cancer 6 years ago. But as the poem developed, it also ended up becoming not just about the doctors, but about role models and people, the women who inspire us in life, basically, and help us become the best version of ourselves. My Radiation Oncologist's Fabulous Boots. In fabulous boots, she sachets from her desk to the examining table. The same fabulous boots I once admired in a shop window. Fabulous boots, both retro and futuristic. I never dreamed such fabulous boots would tap across the tiles of a radiation oncologist's office to gently pat the scar of a breast cancer patient. Tu pecho está estupendo, she says in her fabulous boots. Your chest is stupendous. I blush, redder than her fabulous boots, proud as if I personally instructed the surgeon in my stupor, a tuck here, a running stitch there, capable as a cobbler of fabulous boots. There is a queue from the sea to the suburbs for a moment with this fabulously booted lady, but she is all ears for me. Stands smiling in her fabulous boots, shows me pictures of radiotherapy machines. I look curiously at those fabulous boots of hers. As she explains this intangible treatment, the fatigue I may suffer, how my breasts may burn and turn a not so fabulous red. Oh, to pirouette around and around her office, to bow down and kiss her fabulous boots. I would, except that my own feet must remain hidden under the doubting chair, clad in my old, scuffed shoes. But so much do I want, do I bid, to get better, to be worthy of this guru of health, that look, my shoes are turning slowly, shades are fabulous too. Thanks for listening.
So much humor and hope through such a difficult experience. Lovely, just absolutely lovely. All right, and then next I will share a recording from Janet Aalfs. All right. Get there.
Hi, my name is Janet Aalfs. I'm in Northampton, Massachusetts, and I'd like to thank Yellow Arrow Publishing for including my poem Queer Maps. This poem speaks about how those of us who are marginalized in any way move through fear step by step and breath by deeper breath into greater courage and more emblazoned lives. I think of the word question as being quest, journey, and ion, a particle of energy. Questions give us energy for the journey. Queer maps. Given as we have found queer maps in our palms, each other's hands to drink from, hold the heat in waves. Our bodies twine curve by curve like question marks. We move through dark, then darker still, lit as a spark leaps from flint in silence, eye to eye. Singing the fire as word, we fly. Thank you.
Amazing. It's one of those very short poems that just hit you. All right. So next up we have Kit Roper.
Hi, I'm Kit. I'm really excited to be here with all of you this evening. Like a couple other people on this call and in this issue, this is also my first publication, so I'm super excited. A big thanks to Yellow Arrow Publishing for including me in this, and I'm just kind of, for everyone who's here, really excited to be a part of this and to share this with you. When I was thinking about the theme and EMBLAZON, I immediately thought of a very, very close friend of mine who I feel like embodies kind of all of the brightness and energy and the kind of, they were a trailblazer for me and in my life, and unfortunately they passed away early in 2021, but I wrote this for them. So this is called A Study in Orange. Finger painted yourself onto books and bicycle ink. I didn't know you were a flame personified at risk of flickering out. It isn't warm enough at room temperature to see the color you traced. I carry a flicker of light, still little, and hold it inside my chest. Behind a hope-beaten heart. I want things should, but I'm scared a rush of air would snuff it out, and I will have nothing left, not even ash. This heart relearns its rhythm, slowly, syncopated, significant in its continuance. I will relearn the ways of the bonfire, Let memories heat me from the inside out. The joy, the joy, the joy, glowing my cheeks. The imprint of you will freckle my skin orange.
Thank you so much, Kit. That line, the joy, the joy, the joy. I think about it, it embodied emblazon for me there as well. Now, last and certainly not least, we have K.S. Palakovic.
Hello, I'm Catherine Sarah Palakovic, and this poem, If I Had 2 Hours to Live, was inspired by a prompt I got from my absolute favorite writing organization, Firefly Creative Writing. I'll pop a link into the chat when I'm finished reading. If I had 2 hours to live, I would try to write a perfect poem, and I would fail, but maybe you with lips made of diamonds and a soft peat heart that smokes like whiskey in the glass of my eye, would read it and tell me 3 words you love, and my bones would flush with the secret smile. A child being told they're pretty while young enough to believe it. And it would fill me like sun soaks the air under the trees when the light leans late and low. One last blaze of yellow dandelion summer after all our wishes have got used up. One last hope that my soul has finally learned how to touch. And I would float away, and it would be enough. Thank you.
That it would be enough is such an echo. I was so excited to put that as our last piece because I felt like that is the message we should all take away from Emblazon. Thank you so much for reading. This was our last author on our roster for tonight. So thank you very much for being here, for your work. Thank you to the audience for listening and for supporting us. I'm going to just shamelessly again add in my information and how you can stay in touch with me in the chat. The experience of editing Emblazon has been such a gift. It was the first time that I worked as an editor, and I will share that the Yellow Arrow team was absolutely incredible to work with, and it was such a privilege to get to see your work and to shape this issue. If you have not gotten your copy of Emblazon, we have print copies available like this beautiful one here, as well as PDFs available online. And this reading recording will be posted on YouTube if you want to share it with anybody that wasn't able to make it tonight. Please continue to follow Yellow Arrow's work online. Some of our programs include things like workshops and open mic nights, and writers' virtual residency. There's lots of cool things going on. And we also publish several poetry chapbooks each year. And then we have this biannual journal that we have just celebrated that comes out in the spring and in the fall. And yes, thank you so much to everybody. Annie, did I miss anything?
No, that sounds fabulous. And thank you so much for all of your hard work on this issue with Kapua and the team. And we're just incredibly grateful for how much care you put into curating this issue and for hosting this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.